I thought it was a mistake.
Good evening. The meeting of the Monroe Township Board of Education will come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have a roll call, Mr. Gorski?
Mrs. Kolopanowicz.
Here.
Mr. Tesler.
Here.
Ms. Antelis.
Here.
Mr. Braverman.
Here.
Mr. Chiarella.
Here.
Mr. Kaufman.
Here.
Mr. Masters.
Here.
Mr. Poi.
Here.
Mr. Prezioso.
Here.
Mr. Zarneski.
Here.
Madam Board President, you have a quorum.
Thank you. In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted May 30th, 2013, 1 at all schools, 2 Home News Tribune, 3 Cranberry Press, and 4 filed with the clerk of the municipality. At this time, we will have reports from our student board members.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Many events are occurring this month as the year is coming to an end. The music department senior dinner was June 3rd. The blood drive was held today in the gymnasium. The senior brunch will be on June 7th at 9:30, and senior prom is at the Imperia on Friday at 6:30. And ACT testing is on June 8th here at Monroe Township High School.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Senior picnic is on June 11th. The fourth morning period ends on June 14th, and final exams begin from June 17th to June 20th. Makeup final exams are June 21st and June 24th. High school graduation is on June 24th at Sun National. Thank you.
At this time, we will do the recognition of support staff, and I'm going to ask, since Dr. Hamilton is not with us at this moment, he is down in the Performing Arts Center finishing up his State of the District address. I'm going to ask Dr. Gorman if he would help me do this. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. This recognition is for our outstanding support staff of the year members from each one of our schools. I'll give you just a generic overview of the plaque and recognition that we'd like to present to our wonderful support staff members that were chosen by their peers and administrators. Whereas the Board of Education of Township of Monroe, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey has been apprised of the following. Been resolved by the Board of Education that we would like to wish to acknowledge these individuals as the support staff of the year and the board's appreciation for services. So we're going to go by school. We'll call people up, take a picture, and congratulate you. Our first comes from our Monroe Township High School, Norma J. Bamba. Norma? We'd like to acknowledge from Woodland School, Miss Gladys Apuzzo. Gladys?
On the weekend? Sure.
to acknowledge from the Applegrove School, Ms. Lisa Nelson. From Oak Tree School, Ms. Lori Lively. From Barclay Brook School, Mark Dalvis. I don't see Mark here, but Erin will drop this off for Erin Mahoney, and she'll present it to Mark. From Mill Lake School, Marianne Barbarian. From Monroe Township Middle School, Charles Russo. Charlie? All right. Yep. I like the ones when they bring the little guys with them. Nice job, Charlie. Thanks. And last but definitely not least, from Brookside School, Jennifer Fopiano.
Okay, at this time, we will go to number 7 on the agenda, our public forum. Anyone from the public wishing to speak to the agenda, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. And since we have a large crowd tonight, we are going to adhere to our 3-minute time.
Let me know when I get down to 1 minute, but don't start yet. Start. Mark Klein, 53 Turnberry. Pertaining to the agenda, page 31F, this is something that came up when we were first mandated to have anti-bullying training, to bring a company in from California to train our students and our staff. And it was voted down at that time because we had somebody here who was in charge of that, was supposed to do the training. When you go to J, Dr. Gorman is in charge of anti-bullying. Are you telling me that we can't get people within personnel that we have now trained properly to hold the training as compared to bringing this company in again from California? It's idiocy. And if you're going to get somebody from the outside, I'm sure there's plenty of companies here that'll do it. So I don't know why they're up again. It's the second time. That's all I have right now.
Thank you. Do you wish to respond, Dr. Hamilton?
I'm looking for the item.
Okay.
Page 31.
Right on the top, I think.
Is that Challenge Day, Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Yes, that's a specific program at the high school. It is not a training per se. Is Mr. Goodall here? Mr. Rob, you want to talk about Challenge Day a little bit? I know we had this conversation previously. talk about some of the successes, should there be any?
Challenge Day, and I missed some of Mr. Klein's comments as I was entering into the room. Challenge Day was a very successful program over a 3-day period. I know the board appropriated the funds to pay for it. It celebrates diversity, tolerance, acceptance. It's not necessarily a training for people against anti-bullying. It's more of a student-based program. The feedback from many, many of the parents, the students, and the teachers, we had to limit it, the program, to 300 students who went through it during the 3 days, is that they want to provide it for all of the students here. So, and again, I missed Mr. Klein's original comments about the program, but it was a very, very successful program on here, and I highly endorse that we do it again, and that's why it's on the proposal tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Klein, did you want to come back to the microphone? Because you still have 2 minutes. Yeah.
This was on the agenda. This was on the agenda, I believe, last year, when the state mandated that we train for anti-bullying. It was the same company. And the board was smart enough to vote it down, that it was an expense that was not necessary. You have to
Mr.
understand...
Klein, just a second, just hold that. We passed this last year.
No, not when I was on.
Yes.
No, not when I was on.
We didn't?
We did.
I thought,
No, it was voted down. Go check your records. I'm not even going to get into that.
Okay.
The point is, you got to cut. It's 9,000 here, it's 4,000 here, it's 8,000 here, it's 25,000 here. I don't think this is necessary, but that's my opinion. That's all.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Goodall?
As the principal of the building, I highly endorse the board appropriate the funds for this program for next year, and certainly if the board sees it that maybe something else I could look into that we could reduce, I would certainly look into that, but I highly endorse this program based on the diversity of the school and the feedback that I got from parents, staff, students, and administration. It was a great program.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Robert Roach, 18 Muirfield Boulevard. Page 32Q, the violence, substance abuse, etc. I wonder if you can tell, under instance, there's the notation HIB. I wonder if you can explain what that is?
That's HIB, that's harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Those are the cases we are now required. It came in last year. We're now required to report.
Thank you. Some of the other items on here, substance abuse, drug paraphernalia, threatening comments, some of these appear to me to that they may be criminal violations, and I wonder if you report these types of events to the police department in Monroe?
Anything that reaches that level of criminal offense, it is absolutely reported to the police department.
Would drug paraphernalia reach that level to you?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Tom Notstein, 15 Nathaniel Street. Excuse me. With regards to F31 that we just had a little discussion on, what's also important on this is that have we looked into any other providers of this type of instruction, this challenge day? This 9600, it doesn't even cover the airfare, which is probably going to be a lot. It doesn't say how many people. This 9600 could easily double in the amount when you consider the reimbursements for airfare, hotel, transportation, meals, and miscellaneous expenses. Has anybody looked into alternatives to this? And secondly, how did this one come about?
Do you know how that came about?
Mr. Nesta, as the anti-bullying coordinator, I oversee the anti-bullying specialists in each one of the schools. About 2 years ago, the governor passed different laws for bullying and intimidation and harassment, and we support them all. So we use a very eclectic approach. Each building finds different programs that are both proactive in educating kids. The Rachel's Challenge is one that we use in the middle school. Challenge Day was more high school specific. There are not many of them there. At my county meetings, it came highly recommended, and the responses, I was in the buildings those 3 days when it occurred. It was a very moving, life-changing experience for a lot of the children and the adults as well. And it doesn't do justice for me or Mr. Goodall to tell you that it was successful. But it came recommended to us at the county level. Other schools have inquired about it. I know they have a website. We've done a lot of research on different programs, but it's not one size fits all. It's sort of, we use a very eclectic approach in bringing up different types of programs that are developmentally responsive at each grade level.
Okay, thank you.
Nelson Chen for Ashley Court. On page 5, item S, recommended board approve services person for preschool training for the district during the summer of 2013 at the hourly rate. Can someone tell me what that's for?
We do a screening of all of our preschool students to make a determination as to their readiness and where to most appropriately place them, and this is on our agenda every year.
We have a preschool program?
Preschool handicap program, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. Okay, thank you. And on page 6, letter X, is that still the air quality control people?
Yes.
Didn't we talk about assessing that program? Was that program assessed?
That will be reviewed when negotiations are open, again, with the association.
Okay, so it hasn't been reviewed as yet?
No, sir.
And on page 35, item 12. Can someone explain that to me? We're paying somebody for looking at kids for eating disorders? Page 35, item 12.
Is that under the business report, or?
I don't, it's on page 35. I don't know what section it's in.
Oh.
Professional appointments?
Oh, got it. Yeah, Mike, that's under your report.
It's a recommendation for the Board of Education members to approve University Medical Center of Princeton, Princeton Healthcare System Center for Eating Disorders Care to provide home instruction to hospitalized students.
Oh, I see, it's for home instruction.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Mr. 44 Avenue I. Going back to page 31F, Challenge Day. I know when the state mandated all the bullying programs, it was quite expensive. So how much monetary investment have we already put in this anti-bullying programs?
We would have to research that because that would require us to look at stipends, for instance, that we pay our anti-bullying coordinators, programs that we may have brought into our schools, assembly programs, special speakers, training that we may have sent people out for. So you can request that information by way of Oprah and give us an opportunity to do that research.
You don't have any estimate?
I couldn't even begin.
So it sounds like we've made a pretty extensive investment in this already, right?
I would agree.
And do you know how many people we're talking about for airfare?
I'm not sure.
Hotel transportation?
2 to 3
They're going to be here for
people.
3 days, so are they going to be bill us for like when they go out to dinner, things like that?
Generally 2 to 3 people, and yes, that would be a part of their contract.
Okay.
It is managed by government regulations, though, in terms of how much we're able to get.
It's also a program that is state mandated. We were told we had to do it, and again, we have to put on programs and presentations and bullying projects for the kids, and we don't get paid from the state to do this. We're required to do programs, and do we have a? Do you want to come up to the microphone? And Dr. Gorman, I don't know if you'll be able to handle that question?
The anti-bullying program we have now, is that sufficient to meet the state guidelines?
Challenge Day is just one way of addressing the needs of close to 2,000 high school students. We've been asked recently by August 15th to report to the New Jersey Department of Education a self-study on all of the proactive approaches we've done. The feeling is that bullying, harassment, intimidation, and bullying is such a powerful piece that could devastate a child, and we don't know the ramifications, as evidenced why I think the law was generated from the Rutgers incident when the kid took his life. So we are 100% in support of finding quality programs at each building that are proactive, that will educate children, that will educate adults to not be biased in their comments, not being derogatory, and so we don't have one program. It's not a package program. It's a very comprehensive program. If you go on our webpage, every school has an anti-bullying team. They meet with their principals. They have parents, teachers, child study members, guidance counselors, and as far as we're concerned, this is an incredibly important piece because we don't ever want to lose a child, no matter at what age, because they were bullied or they felt bad about themselves. So
I realize that, but you
it's
didn't
not
answer my question. Are we
program.
meeting the basic anti-bullying standard for the
There
state?
is, and I guess the point is there is no basic standard. They've asked us to self-assess, to put in as many proactive programs as we can to reach all kids. The unfortunate thing is it wasn't funded. That was the problem, and that's where some of the conflict has come between schools and the intent of the law. Rob?
Mr. Goodall?
Just for the record, the program is just not for meeting a bullying mandate. Some of the strategies are to connect students who have long-standing conflicts that cause problems amongst friends. It goes far beyond just meeting a need to meet a bullying training mandate. And I can't emphasize enough the success of that program at the school this year with the diverse population that we have, the large population that we have. I got many, many parent emails about having it for every kid. Every kid should go through Challenge Day, but we do have some limits.
Well, it might be a good idea to bring the kids in or the program in so that the board and the public have an idea of what this entails.
Well, certainly when we do the program next year, we will do that as a follow-up.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Hi, good evening. Steve Ryback, 23 Riviera Drive. On page 35, number 8, I noticed something, and I just had an idea. I don't know if you've done it in the past or what, but I noticed you are contracting out to provide home instruction. Is it possible to use in-house retired teachers from Monroe Township to provide that home instruction where it could be controlled from the school level or the district level?
Part of why we contract out is it is more cost-effective for us to do it that way. I'm not saying what you're suggesting is an impossibility. There may be some merit to that. Perhaps we could have a sidebar and talk about something along those lines.
I know it's done in other districts for less money than this, and you're using your own teachers, and you know exactly, what the curriculum area is. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else from the public wishing to speak to the agenda?
Richard Gibbons, 415 Schoolhouse Road. I just listened to Mr. Gorman's comments about not ever wanting to lose a child. Well, yesterday I voted over at the Brookside School, and I walked right in. Nobody said a word to me. Went in, voted, talked to some of the people at the polls for a while, walked out. There was a lady standing at the door. I said, who's security? She said, I am. I said, really? I said, where's your six-shooter at, in case somebody comes into the school? Oh, she said, if somebody comes in shooting, she said, I'm dead. I'm finished, she said. So I said to myself, this is a real lack of security. And if you don't at some point put somebody in the school, either a trained official in the school or someone, and someone comes in like they did in Newtown, Connecticut, you're going to have a lot of dead children in some of these schools because I walked right in, nobody questioned me at all. So just a point of order, that's all.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chrissy Skirby, 8 Seminole Court. I just wanted to make a comment on Challenge Day. I don't know if the PTO or the Monroe Ed Foundation was approached for any grants for that, but I do want to commend the board for bringing that program to the schools. As the head of the PTA of an elementary school, we pay for a comprehensive anti-bullying program, and you wouldn't believe the amount of bullying that begins at an early age. So I'm glad that this board has recognized the importance of that and that this program is brought to the high school, and I hope that it continues to stay, because bullying is a huge issue in our society, and if we could get through to 1 or 2 children, it could save a life. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Seeing no one, we'll close public forum and go to the superintendent's report. Dr. Hamilton?
Well, we did a we attempted to do a comprehensive state of the school address, and time worked against us, but we do have some questions that have been generated from the audience. We will be posting the full unedited version of the state of the school address online, which is a pretty nice summary of what's going on in our elementary, middle, and high schools, our various departments, and some of our successes regarding college admission, student achievement data, and some of our challenges, opportunities for growth as well. So that part of my report, so to speak, was presented in the State of the District address. But moving on to the board agenda items. Moving on to personnel items, it is recommended, Madam Board President, members of the Board of Education, that personnel items A through SS be approved by roll call vote.
Mr. Chiarella, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Antelis. Is there any comments or questions for Dr. Hamilton? Mr. Masters?
The high school, I guess it's the graduation BB through FF, I think. Can you just tell what the difference of those are? There's a bunch of different categories. I'm just curious why they weren't just put together into one, besides the stipend amounts. But
BB, well, the rate is different for one. Different functions. So you have child study team members who are there for one purpose. You have folks who are working there as marshals, guidance counselors who are there to help assemble students and call names, present diplomas. The security guards, that's a different contractual rate. DD, EE. And various classifications required that they be listed that way according to state based on their designation, certification, or lack of certification.
Anyone else have a question?
Yes, item T.
Mr. Corey?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Item T, I understand that we do sports physicals, during the summer. My question is, when do we do the spring, the physicals for spring sports?
We only do them once a year.
Oh, so we don't have a separate...
A 365-day window from the sports season.
Physical.
So generally speaking, if you do it in the summertime, you're covered the whole entire year for all physicals, for all sports.
Oh, okay, thank you. And how many students would that involve altogether then? Do we have any idea how many students get their physicals during the summer?
Last year, I want to say the number was around 1,000, because I remember asking that question. It's quite a few, though. There are many districts, not to open a can of worms, but there are many districts that require parents to get those physicals outside of the school, and they don't provide this service. But our nurses see a lot of students. In fact, I have a proposal on my desk now that they're actually requesting additional hours because they don't think these hours are sufficient to accomplish the things that they have to accomplish.
And to follow with Mr. Masters' question, I counted up about 30 staff members that we will have assisting with the graduation ceremony, and there's actually more than 30, but there's 30 that I was focused on. How many seniors will we have graduating this year?
Mr. Goodall, do you know that number? I don't want... more than 400 students.
Okay, because that seems like a very high ratio of staff to students for the purposes of doing that. Is that required by the Sun Center?
It is not required, but I will say this. It is one of the most dignified, orderly graduations I have ever seen, and I think a large part of that is because of the amount of supervision that is there. Generally, the ceremonies that occur before ours, it's chaos. Our ceremony is so pristine and so organized that I would hesitate to not have the level of supervision that we do.
Okay.
Mr. Goodall, would you like to comment on graduation?
And just to clarify, we do send anywhere from 18 to 22 staff members to accompany, and I also do it myself, to accompany the students in transport from Monroe Township High School to the center. So we have upwards of about 15 buses that also transport our students to the ceremony. So that's where our graduation marshals come into play.
Any other?
One more question.
Okay.
Item GG, which is the extended school year. I do understand what that's all about, and I have previously sought some answers to questions. But since we run this every year, I thought it might be interesting to the board and the public to know what is the anticipated cost of that program.
Marietta, our director, I think is here. Marietta, would you mind coming up?
For the total cost for the program?
Yes.
That's about $350,000, a little bit more, maybe $358,000.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have any additional?
Well, item KK. I was just wondering, this concerns the custodians that we're approving. Do we have some formula, or how do we determine how many custodians per building we need?
There is a formula that the state utilizes. We're actually, technically, we're understaffed based on square footage. The state uses square footage, a per person ratio based on the size of the space. We have less than the state says we should have.
It just struck me that the number of custodians working in the high school in the second and third shift just seemed unusually high. So that's the reason I was wondering how that's determined. That's it.
Okay. Anyone else?
Just in SS,
Answers?
somebody's listed twice. Is that because they fulfill two substitution positions? I don't know.
Somebody's listed.
SS.
Substitutes. No, they're both under non.
Get lost.
Two different positions.
So that's correct.
So
Okay.
the rate of compensation would be different.
Okay.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call. Mr. Gorski?
Thanks. Ms. Antilles?
Yes on all items and recuse myself on item EE and item NN.
Yeah,
That's right, I'm sorry. You want to do that again? Somebody else want to second that?
We had a first from Mr. Chiarella.
I'll second it.
Ira?
Yeah.
Tesla.
Okay. That's a recuse on EE and NN. So noted. Mr. Braverman?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yes.
Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes to all recuse on double P.
So noted. Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Poi?
Yes.
Mr. Precioso?
Yes on everything but X and double P.
Is that a no on X and double P?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Tesler?
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, personnel items A through SS passes.
Thank you.
And Madam Board President, moving on to board action items under the superintendent's report. Madam Board President, members of the Board of Education, as recommended by the superintendent that board action items A through Q be approved by roll call vote.
Second.
Chiarella, Mr. Masters. Are there any comments or questions on the board action items? Mr. Prezioso?
Page 31, item K, recommended that Michael Gorski be the affirmative action officer. I know we're trying to save money by letting some officers take care of certain positions, but don't you think we better off having him take care of our numbers and our money and maybe delegate that to someone else?
I agree
That's a big
100%.
job there.
I agree 100%, and when we fill the HR position, it would be my plan to recommend moving those tasks to that position.
Any other questions?
Actually, I just wanted to say thanks for adding the funded column to the field trips. That was it.
Mr. Boy?
The item F, I hate to come back to that, but the public had quite a few questions. Mr. Goodall said that we had about 300 students involved this past year in that program. I was just wondering, did those students come from a certain grade? How were they chosen? That type of thing?
Why don't you just pull up a chair?
I was just going to say that.
Students were selected from grades 9 through 12, coming from various backgrounds. At times, there were pre-identified students who the guidance counselors, teachers, maybe even some information from the middle school where children had difficulties long-standing, and we brought them together as a part of this program. So it was anywhere grades 9 through 12, and roughly 100 kids per day, as suggested by the program, participated.
And since we did run the program last year, I know the contract says, I think, $9,500, $9,600, but I'm wondering if we know what the total cost of that program was last year, which would have covered the flights, the hotels, the meals, all that stuff. Do we have that figure?
File that information.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And item N on page 31. I remembered asking about this last year before I was on the board, and it's really just for public information as well as my own information. And I do understand we need to belong to this association, but my question is, what do we pay for that membership?
Mike, do you know the membership to NJSISA?
Sorry, I don't without the budget.
Back to Mr. Boyd tomorrow.
Yes, I'll be happy to get back to you, Mr. Boyd.
And then finally, item Q. The public also asked about that. There were a couple of items where there was damage or vandalism. Have those costs been paid by the parents at this time?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Prezioso?
Getting back to item F, do we know how many people are coming from California for Challenger Day?
2 to 3.
It was already asked.
It was.
I'm sorry I didn't get it.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we will have a roll call.
Ms. Antelis?
Yes.
Mr. Braverman?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yes.
Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Poi?
Yes, except on item F.
That's a no on F. Mr. Prezioso?
Yes, but no on item F.
So noted. Mr. Tesler?
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, board action items A through Q passes.
Thank you.
And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Okay, and we will go to the business administrator's report. Mr. Gorski?
Madam Board President and members of the Monroe Township Board of Education, it is recommended that board action items A through E be approved by consent. Roll call.
Second.
Mr. Chiarella, Mr. Prezioso? Comments or questions for Mr. Gorski? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call.
Ms. Antelis?
Yes.
Mr. Braverman?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella? Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Masters?
Yes on all, but E8, I have to recuse on E8.
I'm sorry, can
E
you
as in
repeat?
Edward, 8, recuse.
E.
E as in Edward.
Got it.
Or just all V if it makes it easier.
Mr. Poi?
Yes.
Mr. Prezioso?
Yes.
Mr. Tesler?
Yes.
Mrs. Kolpanowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, board action items A through O passes. That concludes my report.
Thank you. And we will go to the board president's report, and mine's going to be pretty short. I just want to talk about committees. There's been a few times lately where we have not had a whole committee in place to make some of the important decisions that we're making, and sometimes the alternate is not called, or somebody forgets or comes last minute. So I'm asking that if anybody cannot make a committee meeting, to call Mr. Gorski's office or his secretary, and they'll contact the alternate. And if the alternate can't make it, then we'll go down the list just to make sure that we have a whole committee in place to make our decisions. And also, I just want to mention the ad hoc committee that Dr. Hamilton mentioned in his State of the District address. It's a committee, community committee, that we're asking to help the board decide what to do with the large increase of student population that we're going to be having in the next 5 years. I don't know if any of our board members have a presentation to make tonight, but there's going to be a lot of new building going on in our community, and we need to probably find a place for 1,500 additional students in the next 5 years. So we need input from the community as to what we're going to do. The ad hoc committee has met a few times. We made some recommendations, internal school recommendations, and right now we're waiting for a demographer's report, and I don't think that'll be ready for a couple of months.
I don't think we should have it by September.
By September. So we'll probably reconvene an ad hoc committee. We'll probably have a different time. We'll probably start around 7 o'clock. So we're asking anyone from the community who would like to be a part of that decision to let us know. And we would welcome anyone from the community. So at this time, we'll go to committee reports. Is there any committees that need to report this evening? Mr. Kaufman?
Okay, we had a curriculum meeting this evening, and we talked about a couple of things. Michelle talked to us about a virtual school option for summer school programs. We've asked her to go back and take a look at some of the options that we have. Some of the board members expressed concern, not necessarily with the presentation and the taking of the material online, but some of the board members had some concerns about the assessments to make sure that when either a midterm or a final is taken, that they're done live and in person, so we can make sure that the person taking the exam is actually the person that took the course. For something like a high school program, we want to, since we are certifying school records to make sure that the students achieve the grades they have achieved in the courses they take, same thing would apply online. While we like to think about embracing this new technology as we move forward, for something like a high school program, we want to make sure that the student that took the course is actually the student that was assessed and took the final exams. So we've asked the group to go back and look at some of those options, and also to develop some policy around online courses as well. We were given a short presentation by Bob Mealy about a summer band and chorus program that's going to kick off this summer. It's going to be a parent-maintained and funded opportunity. There's some brochures that will go out to parents who are interested in concert, jazz, and a combination of both for the summer, where parents can pay a fee and have their students participate in a program that we will have up and running for the summer time frame. We were also given an overview by Marietta and Marie Pepe of the new preschool progress report. We were also briefed on a Red Cross Club being sponsored by Greg Beyer, and we've asked that they go back and take a look at it. Some of the board members expressed concern regarding funding of a national charity versus trying to maybe refocus it more locally based and give other opportunities potentially to other nonprofits as well. So we've asked the group to go back and take a look at that again. And one last item that I brought up was a request to take a look at a proposal or opportunity for an enterprise for Monroe Township. A couple weeks ago, we had a very lovely Teacher of the Year award dinner that was completely done by all of our students in-house. And I've asked the Bob Mealy, who runs the Culinary Arts Department, to look at developing a proposal to offer to Monroe Township banquet services. We have a lot of organizations within the town. We have PTOs that have tricky trays. We have athletic programs that have sports dinners all the time. And as we all know, we really have only one venue in Monroe Township that all these organizations go to, mostly because they're the only game in town. This high school now has the functional capacity to far exceed that local resource and give a great opportunity to not only provide a better cost savings to the organizations that are sponsoring these events, but also, pay back to the district, where you save on the cost of running the event, and then the money that you gain comes back to the district anyway. So we've asked the curriculum committee to take a look at offering this up as I think a very good opportunity and an option for any community group within Monroe Township to take advantage of the banquet services that we could have at this facility. And they're outstanding if you haven't seen them. That's about it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Masters?
Thank you. We had a Buildings and Grounds on the 22nd of May. It's pretty quick. The Barkley Brook trailer update, the trailers, the contractor owns the trailers, came out. They replaced most of the siding, cleaned them up, so we're pretty good with those. We're going to move forward with a 2-year re-up of those leases. The fiber installation, Barkley Brook and Brookside's going well. We expect to have the whole thing done late July 26th, actually. There was some litigation that we discussed. Could I discuss that? I'll just say we discussed a bunch of litigation. And we also talked about the soil compliance at Applegarth. We received a report of complete compliance. That's it.
Thank you. Antelis?
The Finance Committee met on Tuesday, May 28th. We discussed the need for a replacement of a food service delivery truck since ours was purchased in 1991 and on its last leg, almost 200,000 miles. And the committee recommended the replacement of that truck with the money paid from the surplus within the food service fund. We talked about the Academy Learning Center and Monroe School's proposed lunch meal increase, which we voted on tonight. That will bring in that 10-cent increase will raise an additional $40,000 annually from our schools, as well as money from the Academy Learning Center. We had an insurance update with the termination of reserve funding. Mr. Gorski updated the committee on the successful negotiations with Horizon, resulting in a savings. The increase for the 2013-2014 school year will be 7.5%, far less than the state health benefit plan, which is going up by 13%. The video distribution and storage system was tabled. We had an update on the Jamesburg situation, and I believe we requested that the attorney, Viola Lordy, be at the June 19th meeting to discuss in closed session an update and see what's going on with that. And we had an update on MECA. Mr. Gorski, Dr. Hamilton, Sharon Jensen, and Marietta Ruella came in and introduced the business plan for the Kindergarten Enrichment Initiative segment of MECA. The next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for Monday, June 17th, 6:30 at the Brookside School Media Center.
Thank you. The committees wish to report? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to number 12 on the agenda. Is there any new business from any member of the Board of Education? Ms. Masters?
I have a couple things, so strap in. The first thing is just to piggyback on something Amy said about the insurance. I wrote up something so I got all the numbers right, so I'm going to pull an Ira and just read it. Every meeting, Ira. I would like to report to the taxpayers and to the staff that I had the pleasure to oversee and be part of the important budget process relating to one of the district's largest expense items, the budgeting for and negotiation of health insurance rates. Back in December, the district was provided a health insurance proposal from our former broker, increasing rates over 24%, and that's roughly $3.4 million. Mr. Gorski indicated this was more than we could grow the entire budget. Recognizing the very unfavorable nature of this proposal, Mr. Gorski recommended that it was time to terminate the 25-year relationship with our former broker and he recommended a change that would result in a more competitive quote. Mike recommended to the Finance Committee the change that we unanimously endorsed, and that began a process whereby our district saved over $1.5 million in proposed premiums, and as Amy said, additionally another $1.8 million of termination reserve claims. With this, our 13-14 health insurance rates are only increased by 7.5%, and that's unheard of. This saves not only the taxpayers' precious resources, but also saves significant money for our staff that are required to contribute a double-digit percentage of their health benefits costs under the mandatory Chapter 78 law. So it's a big win for us, and I think we really need to emphasize that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have plenty. I told you I have a
Oh,
couple.
well, keep on going.
I'll give the short one first. The Oak Tree Garden, I've been hearing murmurings that how much is that costing the district? I just want to get everything straight. That was 100% paid for by the PTA and donations from businesses. I just want to make sure everybody knows that. Nothing came out of the district. Ready for three?
Yep.
Okay, I recalculated the numbers for growth in the district for the three main developments, JSM, Orchards, Monroe Chase, and I'm calling it 33 Apple. Now, if you take a conservative coefficient, which is how many, they give an average of how many kids per house. Over 5 years, if you take the builder's one, which is a 0.15, which is an eighth of a child per home, it'll result in about $2 million over 5 years. If you take what the town council was talking about, which is the 3/4 over 5 years, that'll be almost over $10 million. And then if you take an even more aggressive approach and say 1, which is the one we're going to see about $13.5 million that the district's going to have to contribute. And then if you take it to 2, just to see the scale, that's over $27 million within 5 years we're going to have to come up with. That has to come out of the budget, so we can't really hoof it out of anything else. So, and I'll just be keeping, I know there's a couple more developments that are now entering phase 2s, which are the kind of the sneaky covert ones that nobody remembers. And when phase 2s kick in, and now all of a sudden you have another 400 or 500, I know Stratford, I think, has another 300 or 400 homes that are going to go in over there. And that's especially harmful for that side of town with Oak Tree. So if anybody wants the numbers, I can give it to you. I'll even email it to you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any other business? Okay, seeing none, we have a closed session resolution, and there will be no action taken at this closed session, but the closed session could probably take, what? He said we, yeah. So I lost my train of thought, I'm sorry. There'll be no action taken after this closed session, so if somebody would like to make a motion to move the public forum before the closed session? Mr. Kaufman?
Second.
Mr. Prezioso, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So then at this time, we will go to a closed session. We will go to public forum. Anyone wishing to speak on anything, please come up to the microphone, state your name and address, and we will adhere to our 3-minute time limit. And there will be no public forum after the closed session.
Nelson Chen, 4 Ashley Court. I've been hearing that there's some type of state legislation right now for full-day kindergarten. Is that true?
It will not, there is, but it will not impact our district. It's primarily for Title I districts at this point. I suspect it will eventually get to us, but it doesn't impact us yet.
Okay. Is the MECA program, will that affect at all the $100,000 that we received from the Basque people?
It could, well, not that $100,000. It could impact Basque, but we have an agreement with them. But honestly, I don't think we're going to have a huge conflict with kids. There's more than enough kids to fill both programs, frankly.
When you say you have an agreement with them, what do you mean?
The agreement with Mecca for the $100,000, that's a contractual agreement. Basque, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's a contractual agreement.
Are there numbers involved in that, or is just one blank, no matter what their numbers are? Is it contingent on some type of enrollment on their part?
It is not.
Okay, thank you.
Aaron Horowitz, 7 Maidenstone Lane. Could you tell me how many students are currently registered or enrolled in the MECA program?
We got those numbers today, actually. I want to say, give me a second. Oh, you know it. 27 for MECA and 26 for the enrichment, right?
And what is your break-even point with respect to the number of students that are enrolled there?
That number offhand, Mike, I don't want to get a wrong number. Yeah, I think it was 34, actually.
So right now, we're funding something that we do not have enough students for, is that correct?
No, actually, if that 34 number is accurate, we're above what we need to break even.
I just asked you about what is the break-even point. You said you had 27 students registered.
I said there were 27 in MECA and 26 in the enrichment program.
And what is the difference between the two?
They're two different programs housed in the same building.
And do we fund them both?
No, the enrichment program is paid for completely by parents.
All right, I'm talking about specifically the MECA program. Do we fund the MECA program?
The board has made advances to MECA, but the cost of the
Sir,
program...
I'm asking you,
I'm
do
giving
we
you the
fund
answer.
the MECA program?
The parents pay a tuition to the MECA program to cover the cost of the program.
Is the cost of the program currently funded?
Between the two programs...
No, sir.
This is the
MECA
answer to your
program.
question. Between
I'm just
the two,
asking for the MECA program.
but I couldn't... The purpose in adding the enrichment program was to make sure that the MECA program and the programs housed in that building covered the cost of operating it. So that was the auspice behind creating the enrichment program. So
Okay, let
to
me
give
go
you,
through- Go
to,
ahead, I'm
to
sorry.
just respond specifically to MECA doesn't really get to what I think your question is, and that is, will the program still be operating at a deficit? That's what I thought you were really getting at.
That's my
Sir,
point.
would you like to ask all your questions, and then we'll be able to answer them all
Well, I
at
don't
once?
know what my questions would be until I hear the answers.
Well, then just address your questions to the chair, and then we'll be able to answer your questions.
I'm trying to get some information regarding the MECA program. Are we going to have a deficit with the MECA program? That was what you understood that I'm getting at.
At this point,
So I believe Dr. Hamilton explained that with the current enrollment numbers, we have passed the break-even point. So the profit has turned the corner, and it's become slightly profitable at this point with the current enrollment numbers
And
for
that is
both segments.
And that is combining MECA with the other program.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Arminio, 9 Nathaniel Street. When you're saying that, and I have to, because I was at the Finance Committee, the loan is not being repaid. When you're saying you're breaking even, that does not consider repayment of the loan, is that correct?
It does not consider repayment of the loan at this time. We're past the break-even point, so we're at the point where it looks like we will be making a profit next year, and the board has talked about giving it a certain amount of time, making sure it's working well, and then we will come up with a plan to repay the loan back to the Board of Education.
So right now, there's no schedule for repayment of the loan?
No, not at this particular moment.
Okay, so the break-even point, the definition of that is the operational break-even point. Is that what you're saying? It's an operational break-even point. It's not repaying the outstanding debt.
Right.
Okay. I think we talked about trust and trust on the Board of Education and what the public feels, and I think that goes to getting a clear picture. When people ask the question, the intent is to get the full picture of what the details are and not have the semantics go in a direction. I just happened to have been at the meeting, so I know that there's a loan and then there's an operational cost. The loan is not being repaid, and I think that's what the public should understand. It shouldn't be half-truths. Okay, I just came back from Environmental Commission meeting across the way at the municipal building. There is a tentative application before the Environmental Commission that will eventually go before the Planning Board and the Township Council for 750 more units on Perineville Road with 150 affordable housing, 108 apartments, and 545 townhouses. And included in that is a taxpayer contributed, like an amateur ballpark. Why the taxpayers were going to be asked, I don't know if we'll be asked to contribute it on the municipal level. I would imagine there's another half-truth involved in that one. But on the county level, we're all county taxpayers. So we all have to consider this when, and in our county, and our officials, our elected officials, whether it be on the Board of Education or on the Township Council. That stuff is going on just across the street as we speak. So please call your officials. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Gerald Horowitz, 7 Maidenstone Lane. I agree that the public should be made aware of what is really going on. The answer that I received, as I suspected, is a half-truth. I wish you would tell the public what is really going on, and I support the previous person's statement. Now, could you tell me, please, how much is that outstanding loan?
Approximately $260,000 with the current transfers.
Do we have the money to pay it back right now?
Not currently, no.
Okay. Now, there is a resolution, if I am paraphrasing this correctly, that you want the board to approve a resolution for the total amount of the budget, and you say that there is no outstanding or none. Just bear with me. Let me just rephrase that. Says that no major accounts or funds have been overexpended and that sufficient funds are available to meet the district's financial obligations. That does not appear to be correct. Am I correct on that?
No, sir, you're not correct on that.
Would you enlighten me, please?
Yes, that pertains to the general fund budget. What we're talking about with MECA is a proprietary fund outside of the general fund budget. And the proprietary funds expenditures and revenues are not included in the bill list nor the financial statements that you've received this evening. They're not
But they're
required.
an obligation of the board, is that correct? The Board of Education must pay that back, am I correct?
That's the intent
And
of
what
the,
happens if you don't pay it back?
that's the intent of the interfund loan, is absolutely, like you said, to pay it back.
And what happens if it's not paid back? Where are you going to get the money to do that?
If the funds don't materialize and the
Correct.
loan can't be paid back, then it would have to be written off.
Written off or go back to the taxpayers and ask for more money?
That's a,
Is that the same thing?
it would, written off, meaning that it would be a loss of taxpayer money. That's
Correct. Thank you very much. Finally, I get an answer that I want. I think this program is ill-advised.
At this point, because we added the kindergarten enrichment part of this to the MECA program, we are now making a profit starting in, probably starting in September. So we anticipate making sure that, and this is the beginning of June, so we anticipate more students will be both in MECA and in our children in, kindergarten enrichment program. By September, we will know exactly how much we're making per month, and we will be able to talk in the Finance Committee about how we can start repaying that loan back to the Board of Education. So it is anticipated that that loan will be paid back to the Board of Education. Anyone else from the public?
I'm Sal Thanamala from 11 El Dorado Way. I want to know what's the zero-period busing for 2013-14?
Zero period has not been reinstated. There has been approval to reinstate the 4:30 run after school 2 days a week, every other day, essentially. But zero period has not been discussed.
Okay, a quick question about iPad. How much does it cost to have the entire program running in the high school? And how many iPads are in the school?
Dr. Gorman?
Every student has an iPad, so there's approximately 2,000 in play.
And
Student
how-
and staff.
Okay, and how much does each unit cost?
We purchased them, I guess a year, I repurchased them about a year ago for about $600.
What do you mean repurchase?
We moved to a lease format, a financial protocol, instead of owning it, because we bought them with the referendum and couldn't get to that lease. So we sold the first group for approximately $400,000, $480,000, and then bought the second batch to refresh to get the kids the next generation iPad.
Was it necessary to buy the next generation iPads the very next year?
We believe that if we waited another year, the iPads that we currently had would be basically worthless.
Worthless in what sense?
They projected that...
Technology-wise?
They projected refreshing them. To refresh them, it would have been a much more extensive loss. We would have, if we waited 2 years to get to sell the iPads, to get to the lease model, they said it would have been depreciated at a much significant rate. So the board decided that while those iPads were in still high demand, that they would receive close to $500,000 for them.
Did we look at any other technologies besides iPad?
Oh, yes.
For example, Google Chrome or something like that, where the unit cost about $150 or $120 for school.
Yeah, we had, we spent over a year looking at different tablets, different one-to-one initiatives. We visited schools. We had HP, Dell, and Apple in at that time, which was almost 3 years ago. Obviously, since then, there have been a lot of new tablet products out there. We decided on Apple because it was a complete educational system and a complete educational solution. It was founded in education, and that was what the board deemed the best path to go.
It's a good product in my opinion, but it costs a lot of money, tremendous amount of money. And I think you guys should just be less obsessed with that kind of expenditure. Look at something that would save money to all as taxpayers, and we can apply that money for zero period or whatever. So please be less obsessed about these kind of things. All right, thank you for your time.
Stephen Ryback, 23 Riviera Drive. I'm going to bring a question to you that I think we're going to be in agreement on, and that's the uncontrolled residential growth in Monroe. It's very problematic for taxpayers, and I'm sure problematic for you because you have to figure in all this growth into your budgets, which are going to grow, and we have to pay the bills on. It also seems that, you know, you're one entity, the town's another, Trenton's another one, and that I don't think anybody's really working together to deal with this issue. I went before the planning board, I went before the zoning board, and the town council, and no one seems to deal with it. They all seem to blame, you know, Trenton. I can understand that because I'm aware of the laws that really favor the builders because they must have an extremely strong lobby. My question to you is, do you have any means of working with other boards of education to counteract some of these laws or make a movement to express your feelings on what it's doing to you as a board and what it's doing to us as taxpayers?
Absolutely. We have a once a month, matter of fact, I have one this Friday, all the county supers come together, and there's representatives from various, oftentimes we have senators that may come or people who are lobbying for a particular bill or issue, and that gives us an opportunity as district leaders to bring our concerns to the powers that be. And often during that forum, we get to find out what other superintendents or what other districts have similar issues or concerns, and whether there's opportunities for us to coexist in terms of a collaborative effort. But as it relates to growth, Monroe is pretty much an anomaly in this region in terms of the kind of growth that we have experienced in the past and that we anticipate in the next 3 to 5 years. But we are working with the municipality to come up with a plan to make certain that we are working in concert to minimize the impact and to have a plan in place so that we're not caught by surprise as this growth comes in. We met last Friday, in fact, and we started talking about collaborating and identifying some options that would reduce the burden on both entities.
That's good to hear. I just want to bring up a point, if I have enough time, on Mounts Mills Road and 522. There's a mixed-use development that's been proposed. The builder even put up a sign noting that there's going to be condominiums. It hasn't even received final approval from the board yet. The builder brought his own numbers as far as number of students that's this project is going to bring. Never contacted this Board of Education, just used whatever expert he had. I complained to the planning board about that, and they said that they were going to contact you, and they were going to have a independent panel look into this to see if your numbers match the board's. I don't know. I haven't heard any results from anybody yet. I'm curious if they did contact you, if there is a result, if you did a study on that.
We have hired the board approved a demographer to do a study on our part, and then the municipality is doing likewise, and yes, they did talk to us about their plan and how they were proceeding with that. So we're hoping these two reports will mesh, but if not, we'll have two independent studies and we'll have to sort that out.
I just hope in the future they use our own Board of Education rather than whatever experts builders use. I think you're more in tune with the needs of the district and what the realities are. Thank
They're
you.
doing a community-wide committee, and we do have Mr. Poi from the Board of Education who will be sitting on that committee looking at the growth of the student population in Monroe.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I think a lot of people don't understand is that the Board of Education has nothing to do with the planning of the community. We don't sit on the planning board. We do have Mr. Chiarella and Mr. Masters who have been going there as a liaison and bringing back the information, but the responsibility of the Board of Education is to educate every child that comes into this community. But we have no say into the building of the community or the planning of the community.
But the impact of it is certainly affecting you as well as all of us, and there has to be some control in residential growth, or otherwise things are just going to be totally blown out of reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Harold Horowitz, 7 Maidenstone Lane. Aside from the outstanding loan that the board has indicated me, are there any other outstanding debts that the board has incurred about which we have not discussed so far and which have not been funded?
No.
That is the only item, am I correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Robert Roach, 18 Northfield Boulevard. I think it was indicated that the Finance Committee has a plan, a financial plan for the MECA and the student enrichment, or that's what you call it. And I'd like to know what the numbers are financially as to the break-even point. How many students, what would that generate in total revenue? What is the expenses that are anticipated on that?
Dr. Hamilton and I do have that information, but we don't have it for this discussion this evening. If you want to give us a call in the office, we'll be happy to go over that with you.
Well, would you put the plan on the website? So that
Business
we can...
plan, sir? Yes.
Yeah, your business plan.
It's deliberative at the committee level, but once it's completed, we could certainly post it
Yeah,
to
it's
the
not
website.
final plan yet. It's been a draft plan, and it's still ongoing.
Well, let me ask you then, how many students or individuals can the facility handle?
100.
100. How many are enrolled so far?
51.
Total, in both the MECA and the enrichment. 51. And you say you're at a break-even point with the 51?
It was 35.
35, so
Students.
you're 20 over, so you're basically like what?
16 over.
16 over. Okay, so you're operating now at a theoretical profit.
Yes.
All right. And how much is that profit estimated to be?
We would have to look at specifically how many days students have signed up for it. So you couldn't just take 16 and multiply it by, say, a $700 figure or $400 figure. You would have to know how many kids are there 2 days a week, how many are 3 days a week in order to give you an actual number. And we don't have that data
We
available.
did have that at the Finance Committee, but I don't remember what the number was offhand.
But
We'll have it at the next one.
But you are at a profit then?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Based on the number of days of what you have anticipated so far. Do you know what, but you don't know what that profit is offhand?
I don't.
Have you designated that profit on a monthly basis to be generated, to return to the general fund?
Not at this point. We're looking at, to see in September where we are, and then the Finance Committee will come up with a plan to bring, to return that money monthly back to the Board of Education.
Is that going to be another deliberative plan that we will not see, or will that be one that we can have access to?
When a plan is finalized, we always, the public always has access to
Okay.
it. But
When
it was
did-
just brought to the Finance Committee last week, I believe, and it was a draft plan, so we're in the process of finalizing it. Ms. Antelis has another finance meeting on the 17th, so we hope to have that business plan finalized by then.
So then after that, then we could anticipate seeing it on the website.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Lisa Nelson, 131 Old Road. My concern is zero period at Applegard School. Right now, we don't have like a traffic safety coordinator out there, and there's 130 kids on Fridays that come. Zero period is over now for the year, but to look into it maybe for the following year, having a traffic safety coordinator. The parents are just dropping off the kids in the front of the building, backing up, not seeing who's behind them, and you're talking elementary school kids. It's really a safety issue. So that's something we could look into.
We have put in a request to our police department to provide us some assistance in that area.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Hi, Chrissy Skirby again, 8 Seminole Court. With the MECA program, there's 26 enrolled currently?
27.
27 for MECA, 26 for
24.
enrichment? 24?
I believe it's 27 in MECA, 24 in the kindergarten enrichment.
And those are signed contracts by parents?
I believe so, yes. With deposits.
Deposits. How much is it a month?
The enrichment program is $400 a month.
How does the busing work for that, for students that will be coming from Oak Tree?
They will be bused just like they would if they were going to Rumsterville or wherever they were going.
So if it's AM kindergarten, they come into Oak Tree on the bus, and then they'll be bused to the MECA?
Correct.
And then what happens at the end of the day?
The parent does the busing at the end.
So there'll be no busing home?
Right.
Just there, and that's it? You have to pick up? Okay.
Is that right, Marietta? We'll make sure I'm giving the right information. Okay.
Okay. How many teachers are hired for the enrichment program?
There aren't any teachers. We have one preschool teacher that's in the building, and we have the head teacher director who serves both capacities, and the others are support staff.
But who will be teaching the enrichment, I guess is my question. You're going to have somebody for the daycare, but then who's teaching? Is there a curriculum for this enrichment program?
Everyone there will be trained for the high school curriculum. The paras, the head teacher, and the director.
There's one head teacher?
There is one head teacher.
And how many classrooms?
There will be we'll be operating 2 half-day sessions.
So one classroom each session?
Correct.
And that'll be the head teacher?
Correct.
And then who's at the MECA? Paras? Is that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Good Good evening, Tom Notstein, 15 Nathaniel Street. I'm confused with the numbers. I hate to be beating a dead horse here, but didn't you just say there was 51 students enrolled? We were 16 over 34.
Marietta, would you give us because the numbers are actually changing every day, so.
No, I realize that, but I just thought we said 51. Now I'm hearing 41 from 27 and 24.
As Dr. Hamilton said, we are constantly getting students into the enrichment. So there are 27 for the MECA program that have paid tuition, and there are 26 in the kindergarten enrichment program that have also placed a deposit as of this afternoon.
So it's not 51, it's 43. We're not 16 over the break even.
53.
53.
At the business plan, when we did the business plan at the, for the deliberative business plan, while it was a good plan, the thing that was sorely lacking was the fact that in any business, you just can't selectively exclude expenses. I think it's imperative that the board take this $260,000 transfer of funds and amortize that over a certain period, include that back into the expenses, and then that would, I'd like to see the break-even point once that the cost of that transfer is included in the expenses, like a normal business, since we're trying to be a normal business, would have to have it. You just can't take a loan and not have any schedule to pay it back in a real business. Any thoughts on that?
Yes. The loan to the MECA program is a balance sheet item. It's a liability and an asset between the two funds, and it is never an expense. Within the program, supplies are an expense, depreciation is expense. The loan is simply a balance sheet item. And like the board said, it is intended to be paid back, but it'll never hit an expense item because there's no interest on the loan. Interest would be an expense, but the loan payback of the principal is simply a balance sheet transaction.
But if we actually were to break that down for a 5-year payback, I mean, at some point you're saying we may pay this back, that's our goal. But can we just maybe, since the plan is not firmed up, let's put that into the plan, that payback, whatever you decide to, whatever term you have to do to break down that 260, I understand there's no interest, and then come up with the new break-even point. It sounds like we might even be past that already, but it sure, what I know would give me a good peace of mind if we know that that is included in our break-even point. So when you say you're breaking even, it does count retransferring that $260,000 back on a monthly or yearly basis.
With the deliberative business plan, one of the benefits of having it still deliberative and not final was at the last Finance Committee meeting, a member of the public actually made a good recommendation to have some kind of formula of profitability and some amount of that profitability determined to be paid back to the loan. For example, if you have $50,000 of net income, perhaps a percentage of that $25,000 or $40,000 or whatever it's determined by the board be automatically paid back after a period of time.
That would be great if we could maybe put that into the business plan at some point. I think it would give a lot of the public a much better feeling towards just knowing that we're looking into that right off the bat, and that is being accounted for in the business plan. That's all. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Eric Horowitz, 7 Maidenstone Lane. Could you tell me how you arrive at a $400 charge for each participant in the MECA program? Or I think that's the instructional program. And MECA, I believe, is $435. Am I correct?
No. The rate for MECA varies depending on the number of days that the student is in there. The $400 for the enrichment program was based on looking at comparables in the area and coming up with a number that we thought would be conducive to our community.
So it's just a guesstimate, right?
No, it wasn't a guesstimate. We looked at what other programs were charging, and we did not want to price ourselves out of the competition, so we came up with a competitive price.
Basically, it's a guesstimate.
Okay, yes.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, part of that money program, or the loan that the board has incurred, does that include the busing and the additional monies that you have to pay for the instructors or staff?
Does the loan include that?
Well, where is the money coming from? Maybe I should have said that. Where is the money coming from to pay back, or to pay the staff as well as the busing to bring the children to the program?
The money comes from in the MECA program. It comes from the parents who have children in the MECA program. And from the kindergarten enrichment program, it comes from the parents who enroll their children in the MECA program, in the kindergarten enrichment program.
Who pays the staff?
It comes out of those funds.
That we've already spoken about. Is that part of the loan that the board has
Since we
obligated
did
itself?
not, part of we did not start the MECA program until late in the summer last year because we were looking for the perfect director for that program. So it got off to a late start. We did not have the anticipated enrollment that we had wished to have. So last year we were losing money on the income. Therefore, the loan from the board to MECA. This year we have enough children enrolled to fund that program. So we are at this point making a profit.
But you still don't have the money to pay back the loan.
We're waiting until we see what we have in September because this is June. We would like to know how many students are enrolled in September before we make any plans to pay anything back.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Robert Roach, 18 Muirfield. I have to make a comment. When you started this MECA program and eventually the enrichment program, which really didn't deal with trying to improve the standing of Monroe Township and the schools and the students in the school system. When you look at the state education, wherever rated, there's a lot of areas where we have problems. What you did is you took taxpayers' money that was sitting in the general fund balance sheet of $260-some thousand. You took our money that would, in future budgets, go in to reduce the taxpayers' taxes. And you took it and you put it in a program that had nothing to do with education children. Now, you've expanded it to the enrichment program, which obviously does have some benefits to the students long term. But I think you have an absolute responsibility to return that money to the taxpayers expeditiously and not procrastinate with delaying and using it for other reasons and just expanding this program. That's my comment.
Anyone else?
So Altanawala, 11 El Dorado Way, a really basic thing. My son is 56 pounds. He goes on the bus. He says, Dad, every time the bus hits a pothole or a speed breaker, kids my size go flying up. So I think each one of you should get on the bus and take a ride and see. I mean, you're heavy. He's only 56 pounds, fourth grader. So I said, Dad, can you talk about it? So I am talking about it. Buses break down once in 6 weeks. I am there calling them up. Oh, we have a breakdown. Or we have a substitute driver. The bus is late by 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Parents get tied up. They got to go to work or take care of their businesses. So please look into it. It's very important. You're delaying about 10, 15, 20 parents every 4 weeks or something. So these are very basic things, okay? I don't know much about the numbers. I will update myself and have more questions in the future, but these are basic things that I need you guys to look at. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Seeing no one, we will close public forum. No, we'll get it back. Go to closed session. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Township of Monroe hereby moves to go into closed session in accordance with Sunshine Law, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, NJSA 10:4-6 through 10:4-21, to discuss the following subjects: personnel, superintendent's evaluation, personnel employee number 001289, and personnel employee number 00927, and harassment, intimidation, and bullying incidents 38 and 39. The discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public at such time as the matters have been resolved. A motion and a second to go into closed session?
Second. Sorry.
Mr. Chiarella? And Mr. Tesler, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? At this time, we
Sorry,
will go into
Rose.
closed session.
God, I'm so sorry.
No.
Right.
Hey, a little at a time.
Kathy, can we do?
I felt my brain buzz.
Well, you said that, I was gonna be okay.
Well, I really did. There was nobody ran to the meeting in closed session except me.
Those chairs are
Okay, at this time, we will reconvene into closed session.
Open session. Out of closed.
Oh, open session, what time is it, 12 or 10? Okay, the next scheduled Public Board of Education meeting will be held Wednesday, June 19, 2013, 7 o'clock p.m. at the high school. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Tesler and Mr. Poy, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Then the meeting is adjourned.
Make sure you get his name. Kathy, I oppose. You got an oppose?
You're opposed?
Yeah, he wants to sit here. I love you guys.
All right, who was the first? Tesler?
Mr. Boy was first?
I could keep things organized.
First or second?
I don't know, I just said.
He was the second.
Whatever. Just pick one.
Good night.
We should be
Good night.